Welcome everyone to the LIBERcast episode 113. Thank you. First of all, thank you so much for the people who are joining us tonight, and the people who will listen to it later. Please share this information because these words needs to be heard. They need to be spread into the consciousness of, in this case, of the parents or the future parents. And it's a very, I want to urge people to really open their ears tonight and let your emotional, your conditioning, your biases, aside, and really listen to what is going to be told tonight. So before we're starting, I'm doing my usual One Great Work Network, as usual. Incredible a network of content creators about morality, natural law, the occult, and many other topics that can be discovered there, because there's like Will can be correcting me on the number of people who are there, but I think there's up to 70 to 75 people now, and it's getting bigger. Very encouraging. There's a lot of people there. There's Italian, French, English, and there's another language that this gentleman, I cannot remember his name. So go there and discover this incredible aggregate of information, and it's free. So go there. Here we go. Welcome, Will Keller. It's a great honor to have you on this podcast once again and talking about this important information that is conscious parenting. And we need to talk about this so much more, because we have a big problem about this, and we're gonna try tonight to expose this information to the listeners in understandable words and with examples. And Will Keller, your work is incredible. Your presentations, I've seen your podcast. I partook in it. I was part of the invited, and I thank you so much for your work, brother. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, man. It's a pleasure to be on here, and that means a lot, Fred. I'm a huge supporter of your work and your participation on my show and the chats that we've done in the past on conscious parenting. So I'm looking forward to another fantastic, critical discussion tonight.
Yes, and before we're starting, just please go quickly over who you are and what is your work and where we can find it.
Yeah, excellent. You can find all of my work at willkeller.com, and you can get to my podcast. And I am also a co-creator of the Freedom Under Natural Law Conference. We've had 3 online conferences with fantastic content creators, presenters, researchers, educators, all free to the public. So you can access the replays there, freedomundernaturallaw.com. You can get there from my website. And, when people ask me, who am I? I'm a father. I'm a blue-collared worker, and I love to dive into the mystery of nature. Simply put, I've done this since I was a kid and always had curious eyes and a mentation of one that loves to seek the mysteries of life, of myself, of consciousness. And that has led me to some giant, incredible researchers throughout time. and I've gained an accurate perception of what is going on, and by doing so, recognizing the obligation and the duty to speak out of what's going on in the world and crucial topics like the one we're about to discuss on conscious parenting.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I suggest everyone, there's I showed it. It's willkeller.com. This is where you can find it, or the onegreatworknetwork.com, where we're all there. The people who are sharing in this incredible network of people. So all the information is there. I'm gonna put later the link tree of Will, and you're gonna see it. Can see it and partake in your presentation are always on the point. They're very well explained. The language is good, and I like it very much. There's some eye-opening things there, and your perceptions and your experience in that, and it's very enlightening to have different point of view on the same subject, and having other perceptions about it and other experience attached to it.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate that.
So I'm gonna let you guide me to this. You sent me a list of things that you wanted to talk about, but I'm not gonna let you, because tonight is your night, brother.
Excellent. Yeah, so I guess we should lay a little groundwork. We are talking about conscious parenting. And this can be a touchy subject for a lot of parents, because I think the majority of parents are highly polarized due to their conditioning and what they believe, what they think parenting is. And, Fred and I are going to dive into some topics that might make people uneasy because they're not at a current state, or they do something differently. And that's fine. We're here to present information. And like Fred said, giving people that insight, that perspective, because a shift of perspective can have profound effects on one's constitution and how they function in the world. So yeah, the list that I sent you, Fred, we'll get into that in a minute. But what is parenting in general, right? We can dive into this. What is parenting? Becoming a parent, like Fred just did a few days ago, again, it's one of the most magical, profound, important responsibilities, experiences that a human being can have, right? We're talking about the fractalization of consciousness, of bringing in a spirit into this reality so that they themselves can experience, grow, and evolve, right? And as a parent, we are the stewardships. The word stewardship means entrusted to one's care. So we do not own our children. We are there as guides to facilitate an experience, especially obviously when they're extremely young, babies, toddlers, adolescents, teenagers, and even as adults. We're always there to guide. But in the first formative years is by far the most crucial stage, because this is where we are conditioning and programming our children and the environment, and everything that a child comes into contact, sees, witnesses, experiences is conditioning and programming, because that's what the formative years are, right? It's formatting the operating system, the foundational principles on how the being is going to interact. So the first structure that a human being experiences is the family. This is why it is vital that we understand parenting. This is going to be a human's first experience with relationships, with interaction, and principles and values as well. So if you have an understanding of what is going on in the world with tyranny, the control, slavery, the duress, this is number one, because it all starts within the family dynamic, right? And I mean, even before that, in utero, 9 months in the womb, that attack from these social engineers is there, whether that be from the environment, but mainly due to one's own conditioning and programming. So what I'm proposing here right now is that as parents, in the aggregate, in the collective of humanity, we have lost our way, meaning that we are ignorant to what it means to be a parent. And I talk about in my work the objective principles of parenting, meaning there's an unlimited amount of styles that, a family can adopt or incorporate. But what I mean is that there are objective principles, meaning every parent needs to themselves understand this information and then teach and influence and guide their children on these principles of morality, principles of natural law, and the principles of the trivium, learning how to think.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the trifecta in my book that parents need to understand and teach to their children. So we're in a time where parents are ignorant to what it means to be a parent. Now that's being taken advantage of because guess what? Human beings are going to have kids. It's guaranteed. But if the parental influence is one of incorrect knowledge, incorrect influence, immorality, improper values, it's just adding to the system of slavery and control and conditioning, then the wheel of slavery just continues and continues. It is like an assembly line for the social engineers because parents are just, sending out their kids, sacrificing their kids to the system, and there's a propagation that is occurring. And this has been going on for thousands and thousands of years. So bringing it down to the fundamentals, my whole motto and all my work is simplifying the profound and unlearning and deconstructing and deprogramming what we ourselves have been taught and have been conditioned by our parents and then their parents, our grandparents, etc., all the way down the line. So what I'm talking about is intergenerational mind control, conditioning, and programming that gets passed down through the generations from our ancestry, our lineage. This gets passed down. And these belief systems, these religions, these mental constructs that hold us back have a profound effect. This is how we judge behavior. This is how we act in the world based upon the information that we hold. So, of course, being a parent is the highest duty and obligation and one of utmost respect and needs to be valued at the highest level, especially in this day and age. And that means parents, current parents, you need to step into your discomfort zone and you need to hear hard information like we're going to talk about tonight. And that can be difficult because the defensive programming and conditioning, that reactiveness always the ego wants to shove that out to the surface to reject anything that makes anyone feel uncomfortable. And with your will and your care, you need to fight that and cease that noise of deception and consider this type of information. And then, it's all about the parent. when it comes to the family dynamic, it is still about the individual, because you cannot give what you yourself do not have. So you can't think you are a good parent. You must know and then act within that capacity and capability.
And that's a good intro. There's many things to cover there. It's really hard to have an hour and a half, 2 hours to really delve into this information. And I just want to add, before we're getting into more the darker stuff, that we're not victims.
Mm-hmm.
That your condition, if your condition is bad, you can change it at any moment.
Absolutely. Great point. Great
So
point.
what happened to you when you were young by your parents, you don't have to lift this heavy lift on your shoulders all day long for the rest of your life. You have the possibility of letting it go and making amends with life and forgiveness and things like that. So there's a way to get out of this condition. But before we're getting into that, I want to impress people on one thing: is self responsibility and the principle of correspondence. In fact, I know that the principle of correspondence is the basic of what we're getting into tonight, and we're gonna talk about cause and effect if we have the time. So there's many things that we can cover from two different approach, more the hermeticist approach and more a spiritual moral doctrine that we imbued ourselves with in this work, knowing that is the key for freeing people from slavery. This is what we're looking for tonight, and it's for the next generation and the generation after. Most people here, where we're fucking pounding this information out, but there's a lot of resistance, and it's really hard to get through this shell of the ego and emotional mind control and fear. And most of the things that I mentioned, that it's part of what we're going to talk about tonight. It's fear of responsibility, fear of the unknown. This is some topics there. And the next things the next question: what is conscious parenting? And I will have that. If you cannot if you cannot love yourself, if you cannot respect yourself first, then you cannot give it to another person. It's impossible. So based on this truth, many parents are faking love, faking a lot of things. And what is the consequence of this behavior on kids? This is and I just wanted to put this out before I forget it, because I think it's an important point on what we're gonna talk about tonight.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Sorry, my dog.
No problem.
I love how you brought up the principle of correspondence: as above, so below, as within, so without. This is exactly what parenting is, right? We have our children as a fractal and reflects our baggage, our state of being right back onto us. And we can see that in our children as well. So, and I love that you brought up victimhood. We live in a modern culture that promotes victimhood. And although we all have programming and conditioning from our parents, from our family, right? Some more than others. But just as the so-called black sheep breaking the chains of their familiar dynamic, their family dynamic, being the black sheep, the one that questions, the one that is consciously aware of what is going on, that person is breaking the chains of programming and conditioning. On the macro, in the aggregate, this is what humanity needs to do, right? We need to break the chains of that generational mind control and conditioning, and and freedom depends on it. We are not going to we're not going to move into the direction of creating freedom, ending slavery and tyranny without the parental dynamic. Cannot happen whatsoever. So having that awareness, conscious parenting. Well, what does it mean to be conscious? Conscious is awareness. It is pattern recognition. It is recognizing patterns in one's environment and within oneself. So you're aware of what truly is happening in the world, the causal factors. You are aware of the attacks, physical, emotional, psychological, right? The spiritual domain. You are aware of that. You are also aware of yourself, meaning your own programming and conditioning, how you function, how you operate, your emotional ecology and stability, your triggers, right? So having that awareness, that inner eye about how one operates and their mentation, taking that consciousness, which also thoughts, emotions, and actions is the three aspects of consciousness. So conscious parenting, I look at the process of parenting as a process of presence, creativity, and responsibility. Because having that awareness allows you to be present with your child at the stage that they are at in the given moment. That is crucial. And children have a way of influencing us and teaching us that, to get out of fantasy land and stop thinking about what we want, how we want the situation to go, or what we want something to be, and be present in the here and now, focus on them and focus on the interaction. And obviously the objective principles of parenting. So this is crucial. Being a conscious parent is an active process. It is involvement. One of the main issues that we see with parents nowadays, having their kids in the public system, having them entrenched in culture and these devices and TikTok and all this kind of stuff, parents are not applying quality attention. So this is quantity, and qualitative. You need to log in hours with your children, and the quality of those hours is important. So this is all about what conscious parenting is: understanding objective morality, understanding the internal ethics and values that one has, and the family, and of course natural law, how reality operates. We talked about cause and effect, correspondence, mentalism. Now, any young child can regurgitate anything that is repeated on them. This is what the public indoctrination school does, to speak into. So by repetition, a child remembers and can regurgitate certain information. This is not what parenting is all about. It's not about having your child memorize natural law principles, or memorize objective morality, or memorize the trivia method. It's about them understanding and interacting and participating, because they are their own individual. This is what's tricky with parenting. But this is what I call the parenting style, which is really the dance. A lot of people message me and they want a curriculum, or they want a set in stone style of parenting. How to do what in this situation. Like a checklist. That's not what parenting is all about. Parenting, the line is not in sand. I mean, it's not in stone, it's in sand. So we have this dance of this is what present moment awareness is. When to engage, when not to engage, when to do and when to not do, right? So this is something that as individuals and parents, we need to gauge for ourselves. When to assist our children, or when to let them fail and learn that lesson. So that's the dance that parents see. I'm sure you can relate
I
with
won't
that.
add the point here, and it's a beautiful way to say it. Actually, it's very true. So I just want
Yes.
to add that my experience with my children, and I'm going to be very honest with you tonight and with people. I don't own these children. And some people will say, what do you mean by I don't own them? I do not take decision without their consent. I'm treating them like I would be treated. Respect, empathy, compassion. But as I mentioned earlier, if you cannot do that for yourself, you will not be able to give that to your children. And your kid will know that it's fake. And you know what? They're going to blame themselves for it. So I can be very vitriolic when I'm talking about this shit, because it touches me, because I have this experience with children, and I agree with you, brother. They're very good teachers. They will show you. They will tell you the truth. And they're precious, they're beautiful, and they're very smart. They're more smart than most people think. They're incredible. And when you're looking at a child, you're looking at infinite possibilities. You cannot judge their character. You're just dancing like that's the dance. We're not perfect as parents, nobody is, and we have to deal with that, and dealing with the flaws of ourselves and the flaws that will come out from it. But the trick is, there's a principle. I don't know if I can use it as a principle, but prudence would be one of the word I would like to use in the parenting context, because you cannot make someone understand something. Really, they have to experience it. Children are the same. Children, you're gonna tell them it burns, don't touch that, but they're still gonna do it. So you cannot control them and overprotect them. It's gonna be bad. So we have to let them decide by themselves. And children, let me tell you, brother, my children know what they want. Just to tell you, they're not vaxxed at all, never. And their ears have no earrings. You know why? because I cannot have their content or their consent. I consider at their age that they cannot give me consent because lack of knowledge, lack of consciousness. I'm not saying that they're not conscious, but let's say they're not at the same stage as adults. They're very lively. They're very, impulsive. Children, and this is a beautiful thing. But I think one of the things that I wanted to point out is the principle of correspondence in this this approach that you have with your child. And Will probably know that children are your mirror. They will project what you are. They're gonna meme you. They're gonna use your traits and things like that. They're absolutely awesome. But in another way, if the parent is soulless, apathetic, evil, abusive, violent, and there's many ways you can do violence. Now, I'm not talking just about hurting people physically. Negligence. This is a serious matter. It really is. If you have a bunch of parents who don't know what the difference between force and violence and good and evil, what good can get out of that?
That's right. Absolutely. If the majority of parents do not understand what a right is, or do not understand morality or how nature operates, how does humanity expect to be free? Can't happen. Can't happen. By cause and effect. So yeah, you touched on some fantastic points, man. And I agree. I agree with all of that. Children are, they come into this world without that programming and conditioning. So they come in with this student teacher dynamic, right? Like a young kid, right? They can learn from you, but they also want to show you stuff and teach you stuff. And as they get older, absolutely, like you said, a mirror, that reflection changes and goes deeper, and we can see the transference of our own emotional and psychological baggage or strengths or characteristics. But this is why I like stewardship, entrusted to one's care, right? Because we are caring for precious cargo. This is what the stewardship. The vessel is your child, and you are caring for that until they come of age. And that is a process. That is a time period of coming into age until they are what? They are autonomous, right? As their age increases, so does their autonomy and their capability and capacity of consciousness and free will. So that respect for their rights, their sovereignty must be there as well. Every living being strives for freedom. Plants, animals, insects, human beings. Freedom is the natural state of this reality where we can thrive. Children obviously come into this world and they're seeking freedom constantly, whether it's just moving their limbs to crawling, to walking, to talking, all the way up into the teenage years by, going out and hanging out late, etc. Freedom is at the focal point of that. Now, as a parent, it is crucial to understand your role as a steward, to this is part of the dance, to know how to influence and communicate and respect and honor your children.
Yes.
So I say that because sometimes people send, a lot of parents are polarized. They're saying, oh, so you just let your 2-year-old just walk around and cross the street whenever? No, of course not. That is crazy. I'm talking about, like Fred gave a great example, not piercing your child's ear because you didn't get consent. Absolutely. That's a great example. Or listening and communicating to your child. And I agree with you, Fred. I have the same relationship with my daughter. I talk to my daughter how I talk to anyone. I show respect. I communicate. I don't treat her as if she's lower or subservient to
Exactly.
me.
Yeah.
Right. So we are teaching our children the common denominator of life. And that is everything is based upon relationship. Everything. Your relationship to yourself, to other people, to the world, to values and morality and rights and freedom, your relationship to truth. Everything is based on the relation to blank. So the relationship that we have with our children, again, it reflects and will reflect the relationship our children has with us.
Oh, yes.
So this is, a lot of the problems in the world stem from the family dynamic and the lack of that relationship being solid. And the social engineers absolutely take advantage of that. This is why they want to put that wedge in between the family, the parents, and the child as early as possible to create those obstacles and to create that friction, and that deception and all of that. But it's the parents, due to their ignorance, they are consenting to it, or they are abdicating to it, or they're just outright doing it intentionally. So absolutely, it's a vital topic.
And children are the most abused demography on earth. And it's a bad, uninspiring, terrifying demise. And many people don't have any knowledge about right and wrong and what is violence. And this ignorance is actually you can actually give it to your children. It's like an infection. So if, for an example, if someone, if in your life, gaslighted you, or neglected, and I'm not, when I'm talking about neglecting some a kid, is not really not giving food or clothes or shelter or things like that. It's the absence of psychological support, emotional support, and the more important one, spiritual support.
Mm-hmm.
Because as us, they have a spiritual life. The only difference between them and us is that we have to work twice as hard as them to be in the spiritual balance. Children are connected, because they haven't been. It's so important to understand, and as usual, I'm telling to people, this is common sense. This is basic fundamental knowledge. So it's very terrifying, very horrifying that there's a incredible, a huge percentage of parents who don't know anything about it, and they're going with the flow, and they're getting into this moral relativist stand, and they're teaching to their children that they can do anything, and it's okay, no problem, we're gonna take care of you, you know. And one of the point that I want to, and this one is big, is what the children are will do if they cannot have this nourishing, this spiritual nourishing, and this nourishing in the intellectual, what they're gonna do when they will become adult. What is the consequence of not having parents, or having parents physically but not mentally, emotionally, or spiritually, at your opinion?
Yeah, that's psychological transference, right? I mean, someone grows up, then has children, and teaches them many of the same ways and ideologies and belief systems that they were taught. And that cycle continues and continues. And most of them never even question the things that they've been taught, or how they are, quote unquote, raising their children, which is not raising at all, right? To raising a child means you're raising their awareness, elevating.
Yeah.
So they're a better version of you. This is what fractalization is. It's expanding. Consciousness wants to expand. Your child, you're giving your child, providing and assisting in resources and needs. And that doesn't mean just material. I'm talking about spiritual, right? Emotional, psychological, the resources for them to be their own individual person with higher awareness and consciousness, right? That's the goal. So we are creating an expansion, a more diverse, beautiful, and complex way of being of society. I mean, complex in a good way. So, parenting, it's the art of balance, of this back and forth and that dance. And unfortunately, in this day and age, because the majority of people don't have the fundamental foundational knowledge, natural law, morality, what is freedom, how the self operates, they themselves are spiritual infants. So, it's children raising children. And we have to be honest. We have to be honest with ourselves. The majority of kids, at least in Western society, probably in the world, people become parents by accident.
Yeah.
That's how it happens.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 78% in the United States, the divorce rate. So the majority of kids are in separated homes, right? I myself are in a co-parenting situation, but I'll tell you this. My daughter's mother and I separated. We ended our romantic relationship, but we lived together for 3.5 years in the same roof until our daughter was through the formative years. We did that intentionally because we wanted to have the family dynamic in that house. Now, again, that might not be feasible for a lot of people. My point being is that humanity in the parental topic dynamic, it is fractured. It's disassociated in many aspects. So the conscious awareness of the true authentic self and of natural law and how to correctly operate in the world is lacking. That needs to be attained so it reflects into the parental dynamic.
Yeah. And absolutely. And I want to add something to the question I asked you, because I'm getting very passionate when I'm talking about this. I can barely contain myself. this relationship. And this is the kind of things that your eyebrows, my eyebrows are they're getting up. And this complete unresponsible, ignorant people who refuse to look at what they're actually doing in this negligence there. It's very hard to make this the information, because of the emotional response that they're gonna have, and the cognitive dissonance that comes, and denial about this. This is a very crucial, and I'm searching my words. Sorry for that. My language barrier.
No worries. Take your time.
Your responsibility as a parent is to fucking grow up. And even as an adult, and people will come with all kinds of justification for not taking care of their kids.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I have it in the weekends, it's very tough, and I'm happy to go back to work and bring the children to kindergarten, and being raised by someone else, and
Yep.
I get very angry, at this shit, and I see it every day. I see this ongoing deterioration of the IQ of the population first, and their health. There's a lot of things that we must question as parents. We have to go with our intuition. But my children are not in contact with tablets and cell phones. I've refused them, and I'm very severe on what they're listening to. I put them music, and this is a heavy weight that I'm having when I'm talking about this, because children are so precious. They're gold in this world. And I'm telling you, man, I'm getting angry. So
Rightfully so.
Conscious parenting is the next big thing. And if people don't want to, they don't understand it, it's gonna get worse and worse and worse. They're actually raising sociopathic people and neurotics and narcissists. You have this overcompensation for the lack of knowledge, the lack of principle, and they're gonna like give their children everything so they can have their big car, big house. Oh, I don't have the time. Why are you making kids? It's not a it's not a something that you get popularity from. What people will say if we have kids.
Yeah.
This is what we have to do. We have to deal with, and I'm gonna be bold about it. retarded people. When you're if you're alone and you're doing your own shit and you want to drink a poison, then do it. Nobody cares. But if you get your children, a kid, into your own delusion and your own ignorance and your own apathy, that's where the line is. We have tolerated here in Canada, in the United States, the intolerable. Children have been abused, neglected, violated in every sense. We took their fucking soul.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm using we because we're all in there. We're all in that. There's no them against us. It's everyone. I don't want to be I don't want to rent. I didn't plan to rent. Usually I'm organizing it. You know I'm getting like build up and I'm doing a podcast.
Yeah, but it's the truth, Fred. It's the
Yes.
truth. And this is what parents need to understand, that the majority of parents are fucking up. They are not parenting.
Yeah.
They are sacrificing their children to the system. Sacrifice means to give up something sacred. And that's done in many forms or fashions.
Oh, yes.
The pedophilia rings are unimaginable what people think. People think, oh, it's just Epstein. No, that's the minion compared to how it is. Children are the currency, are the louche, the food for this dark, psychopathic group of people.
Yep.
It's food for these archons. And once you have that, and this is part of conscious parenting, understanding the dark shit that is going on and where we are at collectively in the human condition, that we are at war, and parents need to get on board.
And men,
Absolutely.
get your head out of your asses.
Yeah, there's a reason why masculinity is being attacked. There's a reason why fathers are being attacked. And this has been going on since it's been going on for a long time.
Yep.
World War I, World War II, all these wars where men are getting shipped off to war, some by their own, volunteering, but getting shipped off, not coming home, or coming home all fucked up, PTSD, all this kind of stuff. This reverberates and fractures the family dynamic. So making men weak or using the system to beat them down and, subsidizing the mother, whatever that may be, housing, cash, food, etc., etc. But I absolutely agree with you. Fathers, men need to step up. There's a reason why, because men are the front line, the defenders, the protectors. We are the ones that take up the weapons and defend the family. So you have to take the muscle off of the board. This is why men have been attacked for so long. And of course, and women as well, and mothers as well. Right? It's going at both angles.
Sure.
But for men, if you take away the men, then humanity's not going to fight back, because you can get to the women in subversive ways through emotional mind control and psychological mind control. You can do that with men too. But the physical attack on men, whether that be chemicals, the plastics, the food with higher estrogen, so lowering testosterone in men, making them weak. Men are making themselves weak due to their ignorance. So this is a great transition into fatherhood and why fathers are so important.
Yep.
right? A father is the foundation, as the analogy of a house, right? The father is the foundation and the frame. The mother, the woman, makes it a home. The walls, the decor makes it warm and loving, something that you can live in. But without that foundation and that frame, the house is going to collapse.
Yep.
So we see this time and time and again. I mean, you can look at the statistics. Fatherless homes, a child that grows up has no structure. There's many mental illnesses and all this kind of stuff that go with it. But the father is the protector of the family. And a father needs to be strong, needs to be level-headed, have temperance, and a father needs to be a dangerous motherfucker. Dangerous. I mean, capable and having the capacity to kill. That's what a father is. Now, I'm not saying violate someone and murder someone. I'm saying the capability and the capacity to
Yep.
do so if needed. That's what a father does. Because any fathers out there that are conscious and aware, and I know, Fred, you are absolutely, we know that if harm is coming to our family, we are the first ones to take fucking bullets or make them rain or do whatever. We are there without a question, without hesitation. I'm running into fire. I'm stepping into bullets for my child, my family.
Yep.
This is what the man is. This is what the father does. And being dangerous, this is why slavery is so prevalent, and duress, why the attack on humanity is so prevalent and so active, because we don't have fathers, we don't have men to stand up and defend the precious cargo of the family, right? So, and because we don't have that, then they're going to walk all over humanity or the family.
And to come back with what I was asking you earlier about what's going to happen if the children don't have a healthy relationship with their parents later, they're gonna search for a substitute for parents.
Absolutely. Yes,
So
a proxy parent.
it can be a lot of things, government, religion, gangs, cults,
Addictions.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, we need to understand every parent needs to and I incorporate this into, natural law. We need to understand psychology, how the mind works, right? Emotions and the physical, they're all important, but focusing on psychology right now, we need to understand what the mother and father are. This is the anima and the animus. These are the overarching archetypes in a human being. They are also on the macrocosm. They also represent, the anima represents freedom, and the animus represents purpose. The mother, meaning; the father, purpose. You have being and you have purpose, which is active, right? So this is polarity. And this is also mental gender, all part of natural law. But understanding that in the family, a child, the relationship that the child has with the father is going to set the tone for the fatherly, or if you have a girl, the daughter, the relationship the daughter will have with her father is going to set the tone for her animus, her psychological archetype towards men. Meaning the type of men that she's going to date is going to have characteristics of her father, or the ideologies, or what she's, if she gets into any type of organizations, etc., etc. Same goes with the daughter and the mother, right? That relationship is going to set the tone for the anima, which this is how she's going to have future relationships with other women. and vice versa with the son. The son relationship with mother is going to set the tempo for the anima for romantic relationships in the future with women. So you can see that if there is a disassociation, or there is an immature or an imbalance or a violation, an unhealthy relationship, then you get anima or animus possession, is what it's called in psychology. Anima or animus possession is when there's a projection, there's an externalization of the essence that was lacking in the relationship between either mother or father. So this is why you could see someone, dates someone that is, is just not good. The relationship is toxic, but it has bad characteristics and bad qualities. You can see someone, children that were raised in a strict religious home, all of a sudden go straight to, the Church of Satan or some opposite extreme polarity. Right? There's an imbalance there in their relationship. This is also what government and religion are. They are the proxy parents. Even looking at government alone, you have the left and the right, the liberals and the Republicans. So you have, those are proxy parents. One, corresponding to the left or the right. The masculine or the feminine, the anima or the animus. So this is all natural law. This is all mentalism, correspondence, polarity, mental gender, rhythm, cause and effect. 100%.
Yeah, rhythm is very important. We don't put I don't know if you can enlighten me on that, but there's not much people who are talking about the principle of rhythm, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I plan on using the natural law principles in a presentation later on in the future and really break them down so a parent can take in that information, apply it to themselves, see it in their own life, and interact and participate, and then also influence and educate their children as well. The principle of rhythm states that nature is cyclical. There's cycles. There's an ebb and flow. We can see this as mother and father, the ebb and flow as well, right? So the energy within the family, there is an ebb and flow, which a balance is in the middle versus fully polarized, going to one extreme to another. When you have good cohesion and balance within the family, you get a beautiful ebb and flow, a rhythm, right, to the family. We can also look at just the human being's life, and we all human beings experience the same type of cycles. Infancy, the toddler stage, then getting adolescence, and then coming of age, which is puberty. We all go through these cycles. Understanding these cycles gives you profound insight on how to operate and develop the relationship with your children, etc. So when you have that imbalance and you have that trauma, which is what the social engineers want to do, right? They want to promote trauma in a being's life in the developmental stages, mainly the formative years, but not just exclusive to that, all the way up to the teenage years, because in that time of coming of age where the body is changing, the mental capacity and the emotional ecology is changing, that's also where they want to implement the trauma as well, because that promotes confusion. And when you are confused, you look externally for something to cling on to heal. You look externally for answers, some type of resolve, problem, reaction, solution.
Yes.
So understanding these cycles is extremely, extremely important. Just as we have, day and night, we have waking and sleeping. We can understand patterns which patterns are cycles as well.
Yes.
So understanding your own patterns as a parent is crucial, because you can understand your triggers. You can understand, hey, you might not be a morning person. That's something that you have to work on. Maybe, as a father, mom steps in, or the mother, your wife or your partner, help assist you and guide you so you can work on your own triggers. So understanding these patterns and these cycles, profound, absolutely profound.
Yeah, and the pendulum swing is a good example.
Yes,
It's about slowing down the swing.
absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
not
Parenting, the art of
yeah,
balance.
exactly. It's breaking cycles too.
Absolutely. This is exactly what we want to do. We
Yep.
want to inspire and influence viewers and parents or potential parents to take on that responsibility, to look again, that self-respect at themselves, and break the cycle of ignorance and trauma that they are doing to their children, because that's
Yeah.
ultimately what it is. Incorrect parenting is trauma. Like you said, it is abuse. Abuse is just not strictly beating your children, or physical abuse, or even verbal abuse. There's psychological abuse, there's emotional abuse. The lack of participation and engagement and the relationship is a form of abuse as well for the children.
There's many point. When we're getting into mind control and all these things, there's a pattern that keeps on coming back, and this is the fear of responsibility and fear. So some people will respond, they have a good defense mechanism, they're gonna adapt and things like that. And there's gonna people who's gonna be they're gonna be freaking out. Something happened, you never know what's gonna happen. So this is what this pendulum swing and this equilibrium is about, is controlling the reaction that you have in face of something. And are you able to have this inner dialogue at the same time that it's happening, and asking yourself some questions? If I do that to my children, or if I don't give them time, what it's gonna do? It's being in the cause and not being in the effect. It's thinking before doing something. It's common sense. It's basic, really basic information about the way to think. Some people will like panicking, anxiety, stress, you know, and they're gonna vampirize their children. They're gonna use them for gain, you know, and what I'm looking at your notes there, and we're really diving into the next one, and it's the family dynamic is inseparable from freedom and slavery. So you have the principle of correspondence, the all is mind, the principle of mentalism, yin and vibration, and polarity, and cause and effect, and rhythm. All these things are not, it's not like it's necessary, you have to know it. This is and correct me if I say it right, but natural law is the immutable law of the universe, but
Mhm.
it's the law of causality.
Mm-hmm.
So if we have shit into schools, shit into governments, shit into the way what we're raising our children, it's not because of an entity. It's because we lack self-awareness. We lack consciousness. We lack knowledge. We lack empathy. We lack compassion. Everything that we have, these problems, this behavior that we have, they're all interconnected with the way we were raised into. Everything is connected together. And I had the chance to stumble upon this work and do the shadow work, and I didn't have a hard youth, but I had my downs there. And when I decided to do that and going back, and I was doing it for myself, sure, but I'm doing shadow work and introspection for my children, because I want to be the best that I can to raise them. I don't want to be the shit parent who are not raising their kids, and they're letting technology and tablet and cell phones raise their children, growing them completely they're disabled mentally, emotionally, spiritually. They don't have any basis. They're growing up as moral relativists. They're Satanists because they were raised by Satanists. It's about self-responsibility. It's what you can do to change the situation. The children of the other is your responsibility as well. The actual condition of children is because people are consenting to it. There wouldn't be no poverty, no war, no government if people didn't consent to it. So all the treatments, the over medication, the SSRIs, antidepressant that are giving to children, and showing them like complete garbage ideologies that gonna send them right in hell. Because we are as it at the time, I'm not talking about you and me, but most parents don't really care. The heart connection is not there. You're raising children because it was the way your parents were raised, and you decided to follow the cycle and fucking behave like your parents that were probably statists, probably religionists, probably moral relativists. Does it mean that you have to do the same fucking thing? Does it mean that you need to stay in this fucking condition of making hell for yourself and for the children that you have or that you want to have or you had? Being a parent is the biggest responsibility a human can have. You're not holding them. You're guiding them until they're adults. And it is your responsibility to give them the information, give them the values and principles so they can survive in the external world. And most parents don't do that. They don't even know for themselves. They don't even know that they don't even know. So why freedom and the family unit are intimately connected? Because there's nothing more important than intelligent education, moral education. So if you have an aggregate of parents who are raising children and they don't know nothing about it, then you're going to have chaos. You're going to have crime. You're going to have a lot of different things. Their children and the parents will be uh, 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 they will be held responsible for the lack and the negligence of their parents. Everything is connected together. Everything. And it's unacceptable.
Mm,
It's unacceptable. You know? And
absolutely.
I'm not saying that I'm telling you how to raise your children, and I'm not talking to Will. I'm not telling you how to raise your children. I want you to fucking awake from your dormant state. And it's not because you have children that you can do whatever with them. What is the solution to that, Will? What can we do in the now? In the real world, what can we do to change this pendulum swing? What can we do to slow it down? Get these fundamental principle right back into the heart and mind of the people.
Yeah, great question. You brought up some excellent points. And I love how you said just a little bit ago, a lot of people, truth seekers, they want to know who's behind the veil. They want to point the finger at someone that is causing, right, the condition that we are in. And this is the absolutely truth. It is incorrect parenting. Parents are creating this condition.
Yep.
Parents that don't understand this foundational information. So the solution is, and content for kids, yes, that's great, and someone can do that, and that's fantastic, but it's about reaching the parents. The parents are the ones that have the most time with their children. It's not good enough to just know it. You need to embody it. Just because you know what is going on or morality, that's not good enough. You need to be a moral person. This needs to be incorporated into your very essence, into the family, right? And even people that have kids that are much older, you still are a parent. You have that influence, that communication. So this is really where it's at. The family dynamic is inseparable for freedom or for slavery. Just like the nature of a human being is that we are programmable. Garbage in, meaning information in, garbage out, meaning if we have incorrect information, we are going to take immoral actions. And good quality information in, good quality actions and behaviors out. Same thing with the family. Again, correspondence, macro to the micro, right? If parents, good quality in, then the children are going to have good quality behaviors and actions. So reducing it down, the human condition, it starts in the very beginning of life. It even goes really before that, in the mind of the parents, right? Having that knowledge and that conscious awareness of what is going on in the world will limit the trauma that you induce onto your expecting child, right? With the high quality, ultrasounds, the drugs and prescriptions and the birth methods, right? The vaccinations right at birth, something like a delayed cord cut for the umbilical cord, skin to skin contact immediately, right? Children are taken. Circumcision is another one. This is all trauma. Now, it's negative trauma because, first of all, the birthing process is trauma, right? Pain is inherent in this reality for human beings. We all experience pain, but pain is the material that allows us to transmute that into either a lesson or into growth. So the birthing process is traumatic. That's what creates the trauma bond between child and mother.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful process. It connects. It allows child and mother and father participating as well to connect. But again, that negative trauma there is there to disrupt and disassociate. So reducing it all down, it comes down to the beginning of life, and that stems from the family dynamic. Going back to the family dynamic sets the whole tempo on the operating conditions for the human being, but also their understanding of the world and of society and how it operates. So we're getting down to that foundation, that house where mother and father have created for the being to operate and function. This is why. And if that is garbage, then of course we're going to have garbage human beings. If it is good quality, we are going to have high quality human beings, consciousness, moral right action, understanding the difference between right and wrong action, learning how to think, knowing how to think. This is getting down to the causal factors, 100%.
Cause and effect. Cause and effect is
cause and effect.
Yes, cause and effect is a big thing there. And
100%.
Like education. So we have the time, we can talk a little bit about education. And we here, in Quebec and Canada, we have still the choice of having a midwife and doing it in more warmth environment and doing so. We still have some good things that come with babies and children, and we have a lot of support from other family, and we're getting connected with other homeschoolers and things like that. So I think one of the things that we must do is stop lying to ourselves as people, as collective, as a family in the family unit and things like that. It's not lying, being honest about the things that you live, and all these beautiful things that's happening. There's experiences that you live with your children. You have your children will make you angry. They're gonna make you laugh. You're gonna go through a lot of different emotions and things and experience, and I think they're all positive at my opinion. But this education aspect, I have a great solution for all the people tonight who are listening. If you have kids, get them out of the public school. First of all, educate your children. I don't care if you have to leave your job, and having only one person. If you're in couple, I'm talking about parents that are together, having the possibility of homeschooling. And as an example, my wife is staying home and taking care of the children, and I'm working. This is what the model that we're using. So if if sacrifice is something that you don't want to be, do what you don't want to do, don't make children. because you're going to sacrifice everything. When your children are coming in, when you have your children, when actually the work is done and the children is there, it's your responsibility to take care of these children. Means that the education, nourishing them, taking care of them, washing them, showing them life. And that's why I'm saying, don't lie to them. Educate them well. And do never use violence against your children. Don't hurt them. Don't hit them. Don't lie to them. Don't steal their consent. This is a base. You know, this is some I seriously, some I won't like start laughing. It makes me sad that we actually have to get 2 hours together and talk about not hitting your children and getting consent. I mean, come on, people. It's basic, like it's you cannot have anything more basic than that. Self-respect and love. Don't hit them, don't lie to them. Educate them. Don't do violence onto them. It's simple to understand. If you don't know what good and evil is, you don't know the difference, you're in deep shit. If you don't know what the difference between bad, evil, and good, how do you know that you do evil to your children? How do you know if you don't know the difference between the two? And I think that one of the worst that you can do is stealing consent, having their informed decision. I'm covered it a little bit, and I've been very vocal about this, the condition of children, and during the pandemic, and all these things, all these crimes, all these immoralities that have been shed upon the heads of the children, and all this abuse, and I cannot fucking believe that is happening. How low we have to be to treat children less than pets. Because cats and dogs are treated way better than children. People are having children and they take it for granted, and they're objects. I'm gonna get rid of my children, for the weekend. I'm working all week long, and I'm gonna get rid of my children in the weekend so I can fucking do something worthless, rather than taking care of your children, of your kid. It's fucking unacceptable.
Yeah, there's something that I've seen with a lot of people that's common. And to me, it's an ignorant and lazy approach. Well, I'll say becoming a parent, it's a process of death and rebirth. Sure, you're having the birth of your child. It's also a death of you.
Yeah.
Like, you need to understand that who you were before your child is dead and gone. You need to evolve past that into a new you. So you yourself are being reborn into a new version of yourself. But this doesn't happen with a lot of parents. A lot of parents, they're just having a kid. They continue on the same level of thinking and awareness. And that this is where their conditioning and programming, they just raise their kids how they were raised. Some of the best advice I got was actually from my dad. I have a fantastic relationship with my parents. My mother has passed, but with my stepmother and my father, my dad said, right before my daughter was born, he said, I asked my dad, give me some fatherly advice. And he said, do better than I did. That's what he told me. And I love it. It's simplistic, but it's so true. Like, that's the goal. We need to do better than how we were raised, right? This is the holographic and the fractalization of the parental process. And a lot of people don't do that. They just promote how they were raised. They spank the shit out of their kids because they were spanked, right? Or beaten or whatever it is. And they never question it. And this is the stagnation of awareness that a lot of parents are in. They need to question their behavior, their action, what they believe to be true, these false axioms that they consider self-evident. And this is where that awareness is. Acceptance is important as well. And when I say that word acceptance, I mean accepting the past. It happened. You cannot change the past. It happened. Understanding your 0 point, where you are here and now, and move forward. Act in the present moment and move forward. I say that because I do get messages from parents, especially within the last 4 years, where people are coming into awareness, higher awareness of what's going on and of parenting. And that's great that they are there, but they made some incorrect choices in the past, whether it be vaccinations or whatever, right? Yeah. And although, sure, that's a shame that happened, but it happened. Accept that it happened and focus on the here and now and work to be better and educate yourself and move forward for evolution.
Yeah. And I mean, we can talk about the dark corners and things like that, but what I want to bring on the LIBERcast is a point where people can identify themselves and identify the problem so they can find a solution. So we're exposing a lot, we're talking about things that we heard and our own experience. And these models aren't, we're not perfect, we're not perfect people. We're making mistakes, and we're learning as the time comes. The children are growing up and it's getting different. The children are changing. It's always a challenge. It's not a bad thing. It's you have to surpass yourself every time. How do you respond to what is happening, and how, if it doesn't work, if something is wrong, how can I change it? And I think this is the question that we have to ask ourselves all the time. How can I make it better? For the people who are like working 40 hours a day and they're the two parents, it's simple. How much do you care? How much do you care? And the amount of care that you put, this is the output that you're gonna have. It's very simple. Truth is always simple. It's not easy. Most of the time it's destructive, because we live in a world of deception and lies. So it's very destructive. And as I mentioned it's do the shadow work. Do the introspection. It's always coming back to that. It's get out of this mind control. Get out of this get this voice out of your brain that tell you that you cannot do better or don't do it, and things like that. And don't let anyone tell you how to do it. Experiment, educate yourself, get involved. You know, if you don't have children, it's fine, it's okay, no problem, it's okay. But it's not to you that we are addressing this. We're addressing to the people who are looking for having them, or who already own have children. It's always about the introspective. It's always personal, always. And some people will do it just for like self-validation.
Yes.
And it makes it even harder when it's so frustrating. It makes me so angry. You know, it's very hard to stay calm and contain our. And I'm talking for myself there. Kids are so important. I'm repeating it since the beginning, but I think it's a truth that needs to be heard, and their value is you cannot put a price on it. You know, you can
Absolutely.
you're seeing a children on the side of the road, and it's maybe the next Einstein. You know, you never know.
Yep, they're the future. And, you know, this is a great segue to get into that last point on our notes. But before we do that, I want to touch on something. You said some fantastic things. And, you know, people are always seeking, parents, they're seeking that the answers. And this is what we need to understand. Again, how we touched on the dance. Every family is going to have their different characteristics and qualities. But understanding that the familiar level is truth itself and morality and nature. That's the
Yep.
foundation of all human beings that we need to know.
Yep.
And that can be incorporated within the family unit so that your child is developing and growing or being influenced by the values of truth, morality, and
Yep.
nature. That is the most important part right there. They understand that. They've been raised in that environment. That is important. You know, I mean, the parenting styles, guess what? You're a parent. You're going to have to figure a lot of that shit out on your own within the family, right? Bedtime, you know, peas or carrots. It like you're going to have to figure that out. That's the creative art of balance. But when it comes down to principles, this is the familiar level of truth, morality, and nature. And this is what parents need to understand. That level right there, and then and educate themselves and incorporate that within their family dynamic, within their home, because that's where the heart is. And like what you said, Fred, what do you care about? It comes down to care. And you talk a lot about the shadow work. I love it. And this is something that, here's something that a parent can do, is write down on a piece of paper, what do you care about? And be honest with yourself, like you said, Fred, and it will reveal where you are at.
Yeah.
Even if it's, you know, not where you want to be, you have to be honest with yourself, and that is your 0 point, and then you move forward.
Oh yes, it's growing up. It take and the problem with kids, it's free. You know, you don't have to make sure psychologically and emotionally and spiritually for you to have a children. So everybody can make children. You know, I'm telling like it is a problem, but essentially it makes it makes everything worse.
Hmm.
And I think I mentioned it. We talked about it with Sarah. Is is putting children in the world, and the parents don't desire them, and the context and the condition that their parents are in, and or the two janitors, not janitors, but the two givers of that gave this beautiful child that's gonna suffer from the lack of self-responsibility, and it's very pathetic. It's a very unfortunate thing, but we're gonna pound this information as much as I can. I'm trying to do it on the French side. I talked a little bit about it, but it's really hard. People don't want to see how corrupted or crooked or wicked is the state of the parents now, and the tutors, and all the people who are taking care of children. And I'm not putting them all in the same. There's people outside in the real world who are doing a fantastic job with children.
Yes.
Okay, well, I'm not saying that everybody is bad with children. It's not that at all. There's beautiful people. I know people, other families that are treating their children with respect, and they're educating them. They don't let the state do their job. They're actually doing it, and taking decision about your kids is never a easy thing, because you have to balance all these information, and then not getting influenced by how you feel emotionally, and keep in mind that they're individual, they're sovereign being, and violating consent and violating their being is the worst thing that you can do to them. It's
Absolutely.
yeah, the work that we have to do as parents now, that the coming generation, hold on, people. It's gonna be a rough ride, because the parents are not there anymore. You mentioned it, fatherless family. It's the consequence of fatherless family. It's huge. There needs to be a mother and a father. It doesn't work any other way. So you have to. This is basic. Like, my children know these things. They're all under 8 years old, and they know it. They know they know the difference between right and wrong. What is violence? What is force? What does it mean to be a person that share a reality with other people? How you treat people is how you treat yourself. You don't want to be trampled upon, you don't want to get it, you don't want to get violated, then don't do it on other people. These are the basic things that children must know at young age. How to think. Just think before you're doing something. It's like crossing the street. It's like going over the other side of the street. Think before you're doing it. There's things that you must do first. It's stopping and looking both sides of the road before you're crossing the street. But adult, it's the same thing, brother. We have to sit there, and take in this information, and tell to adult, and tell basic moral stuff to them about children, about psychology, about the relation that you have. We're regressing a lot. This is why I'm gonna keep on fucking pounding this information out, because it's common sense. This is how this is how I tell people in French. Don't call it natural law. call it common sense. It's simple as that. So, we're an hour and 46 minute in, and it's going very fast. I told you, it's always pretty fast because there's so much stuff to cover, and we barely scratch the subject here. We could go deeper into the psychological and the schisms of the mind and what is creating this state, this condition of human. But it's another 2 hours or 3 hours of stuff that it's we're talking to so much about this, man. I hope the word is getting out, man. I really hope that the people do understand it.
There can always be more conversations in this realm, and there needs to be, for sure. I mean, I just recently I did a just a regular YouTube search on conscious parenting, and it's just the same lady that's done TED Talks. She's been on, these big podcasts and stuff like that,
Yes.
all the way down 100 or so videos. There's this one lady that obviously YouTube's promoting, but I mean, yeah, she's got some great stuff, but still doesn't have that awareness of what is going on in the world and can't take it to those deeper levels. So there just needs to be more and more people talking about this.
Yes.
So,
I mean, if you're a parent and you don't do it, you're a fucking asshole. I don't give a shit. You're treating your children that bad, because you're afraid to take risk or trying new things. It's fucking disgusting. That's what it is. If we have to talk about this now, is because fucking people are just fucking retarded, and we have to tell them. It's not easy. Some people will not like the word retarded, but it is what it is. It's people that are being slowed down. It's not big. I'm not saying that you're like affected mentally. That you have a condition. You're like that because you consent to it. Because you're willing it.
That's right. That's what suffering is all about. The difference between pain and suffering. Suffering is an allowance of pain, meaning you are consenting to it. You are allowing the suffering to continue. And that could be for many reasons. You're not consciously aware of it, right? Or you haven't taken the proper action to rectify that. Humanity is in suffering. We are suffering in the aggregate, in the collective. And that is because obviously the majority of people are unconscious to this, these fundamental factors within the parenting dynamic as well.
Yeah, ignorance is a big thing there.
That's right.
So for the people who don't know, ignorance is the root of all evil. It's simple as that. Where there's ignorance, there's violence and there's chaos. It's simple as that.
Yep. Lack of knowing.
Yeah, absolutely.
To ignore.
We're spinning truth on since like a couple of hours, almost couple of hours. And for me, it's common sense. It's like basic, understanding of what the reality is and the relationship we have with other people. For me, it's acquired. I don't have to think too much about it because I know the information, and I'm always updating my experience and knowledge because I'm having a family. But it's an ongoing work, people. And before we're closing that, I have to tell people now, for the people who are listening now and they're not already doing something, you have to do fucking something. Don't wait. We need everyone who has the flame on their heart, this flame that is burning. We need you fucking now. We needed it like years ago. Sacrifice a little bit of your illusory comfort and get fucking involved. You don't have to do podcasts like that. You don't have to fucking write books. Do fucking something. You don't have to show your face. You can do it all audio. You can read
All
a book.
about,
Yeah.
yep,
Go on,
all
Will.
about our relationship, right? Our relationship to the human condition, our relationship to the solution. Are we participating in the solution or the problem? So, you know,
Exactly. Exactly.
just like parenting, it's qualitative and quantitative. The quality, meaning you understand natural law, objective morality. You're talking about the cause of the problem and the solution. And then quantity, meaning we need numbers. There has to be a certain amount of people, and that number needs to increase to change the human condition. And of course, parents is part of that equation, the biggest.
Thank you so much, people, for being there tonight. Seen the comments, beautiful comments, and thank you so much, Will, and being patient with me with my awkward English.
It was great, bro.
I'm very I'm critiquing myself a lot. This is how I get better. You know, it's not perfect. I still have problem with my verb tenses and things like that. But I'm working on it. I encourage people to go on. I'm gonna let you do it. You know, that's your stuff. Just promote it,
Cool.
and people share this stuff. Go on his work.
Excellent. Well, again, it's always a pleasure coming on here, Fred. I thoroughly enjoy our conversations. Thank you to all the viewers in the chat. Appreciate your time and attention. Again, you can go to willkeller.com to check out my presentations, my podcasts. You can get to all my links. I'm also on the One Great Work Network. So check that out. And I think that we're up to about 77 content creators on the One Great Work.
77.
Yeah, I believe that's the current number, and I know Mark's going to be onboarding a few more people, so that number is going to grow. That's a great sign.
That's awesome.
And as far as my work on conscious parenting, I have 4 presentations that I did: Conscious Parenting 1, 2, and 3, and then Raising Freedom, which I initially did on the LIBERcast, and then I turned that chat with those slides into a presentation that I did at the Funnel 3 conference.
Mm-hmm.
So I highly recommend people go check out those presentations and contact me. I work with parents as well in communication. You know, we live in that time where, like I was saying earlier, co-parenting is the norm.
Yep.
So there's a lot of, it's all about communication and mitigation and that relationship you have with that dynamic as well with your partner in the family, So there's a lot of information out there. Anybody can reach me up and I will respond. And again, it's an honor to be on here, and thank you for all the work that you're doing, Fred. I appreciate it. And congratulations for being a 4th-time father.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you again. Seriously, I go on, people. Go on Will Keller, the link tree. Everything is there. I'm gonna put them on the YouTube page afterward. There's the presentation are fucking awesome. Okay, I mean, only the 2 hours that you're doing, you did it a few times now, and these short presentations are awesome. So I suggest everybody to get there and get and get in this incredible information. That it's mind blowing. You know, the way that you're doing it's very straight to the point and beautifully worded. So the LIBERcast is on YouTube, Facebook, and D Live and Odysee and BitChute, but I still have a hard time updating because of the lack of time, because of the responsibility. But I'm gonna work on it. Like, there are many platforms, and the LIBERcast is a bilingual podcast. So there's French and English. So for the people who know both language, it's all in your advantage. It's all in the ball is on your cam. So get involved, people. If you want to partake in the LIBERcast, the podcast is open. Means that if you have information that you want to share, then it's in accord with what I'm doing, health, psychology, the occult, morality, contact me, and we're gonna make it happen. So thank you so much, people, again, for being there and supporting me and supporting the Will Keller's work and the One Great Work and all these beautiful people who are working in the real life to make the life of others better. And this is what we need to do. We need to get involved. So take care and have a good night. See you soon.